What's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bolero Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Gab Lim and Maui Yap. And sabi namin sa inyo, hindi pa tayo nagtatapos sa episodes natin dito sa Boleros. Kahit tapos na yung season, may mga pag-uusapan pa tayo. Nakita nyo naman sa title below, this season, for the entire season 87, we're going to do our final Ballers and Boleros. And this one, we're going to call the Gatorade Ballers and Boleros of Season 87. So, you know the drill. Kapag pinili namin yung Ballers and Boleros namin, when we say Ballers, these are the players, coaches, X-teams, or X-factors that have propelled their teams to victory, that have helped propel their teams to victory, just like how Gatorade can fuel you forward. Tapos yung Boleros naman, these are the guys that were boleros of the entire season, diba? Opposite of ballers, basically. Let's just put it that way. So, they did
the
not
losers.
The losers. Winners. Our own version of winners and losers. So, let's get started. We'll have 2 picks each for ballers, 2 picks each for boleros. Our main pick, and then maybe we'll do an honorable mention. Let's get started with
Before we start, Sammy, we have to say this is our last episode with Gatorade as our primary sponsor for season 87, and we would love to thank Gatorade for sponsoring our podcast for season 87. We love it. We love all the merch that they gave us to give away to our subscribers. I hope you guys. I hope to those guys who won. To those people who won the merchandise, I hope you're enjoying those shirts, those bottles. I think we gave away some Gatorade also, no. Sana yung nainom nyo na or yung nagawa yung trophy. Uy, nanalo ako ng giveaway.
Bebenta nila in the future no sa eBay o sa carousel.
Dapat pala nag-sign tayo ng mga mga Gatorade bottles.
Meron pa. Pwede pa. May onting-onti na lang. But yeah, so thank you. Shout out to Gatorade, to the people that help us out. It was a amazing season. And thank you to the people that participated dun sa mga nag-send in ng Gatorade Ballers and Boleros picks nila. Okay, let's get started. Why don't we start with you, Sultan of Sando? Sino ang Gatorade Baller of the season mo? Baller muna, wag muna yung runner-up.
Well, my baller of the season, I know we just have a hangover of UP and LaSalle, and obviously, despite LaSalle losing, they're both ballers. I mean, they were the number 1 and 2 teams coming into the season, despite all the things that happened. UE threatening in the first round, all of the upsets by NU in the latter part of the season. Nothing has swayed our opinion that UP and LaSalle would be going at it at the end. And they went at it at the end and gave us a great final series. But my baller of the season has to go to the school in yellow along España. The UST Growling Tigers, Coach Pido and Nick Caballero. Just to set the stage, UST, what? Season 84, were they 0-14 or were they 1-13? I completely blank.
Something like that.
They were 1-13. Season 85, I think they were 1-13 also.
Laging may isa.
Last season, they were 2-12. All 3 seasons at the bottom of the UAAP standings, and now they're in the final. They were in the final 4. I think if you're a UST fan, a part of the UST community, a part of the team, if you're Nick Caballero, you would be ecstatic. And you gave a fight in the final 4. Diba? It wasn't like you were completely blown out like Adamson against LaSalle. Or you fought. You fought in the final 4. You were there, tooth and nail. You had a chance in the final 4. And I think if you're a UST fan or you're a UST student, alumni, alumna, you would take that. You would take this. You are back competing in the UAAP upper echelon. Next year, possibly, we could even talk about them contending. Diba? Majority of their lineup is coming back. From all the things Nick Cabanero has been saying, it looks like he's coming back. It looks like he's coming back for next season. Fortsky has not given any indication that he's leaving, so he'll probably be back for his final season next year. Motong Kara is still there. The key loss for them is Christian Manaytay. He's
Mr.
been
Footwork.
Yep. For 2 seasons now, he's been what? Well, last season he was the number 2 offensive option, the only other offensive option beside Nick Cabanero. This season, at times he was a number 2 or number 3 offensive option, and was one of only 3 reliable front court players for UST. Diba? UST has a very thin front line. In their biggest games, you could only count on Tongkara. Well, at least those who were in the rotation. It was Tongkara, Crisostomo, and Manaytay taking up those front court minutes. Zayn Mahmoud was in the doghouse the entire year. Eco Laure is Eco Laure. So I think that says it all. But yeah, they have to replace the production of Christian Manaytay, whether Jello Crisostomo steps into a bigger role, whether we have a new player coming in and taking up those minutes left by Manaytay, they need to get bigger. Nahalata yung disadvantage nila in terms of size, especially when they were up against LaSalle and UP. Motong Kara cannot go at it himself. Although he did have big games against those 2 schools, he could not go at those front lines himself. I mean, he's already at a disadvantage himself. He's already 6'7", 6'8". You compare them to the likes of Mike Phillips, QMB, Henry Agonane, Dicasio Dodo, very tall front lines for UP and LaSalle. So they have to get bigger, and they lost one of their more capable front court players. Who knows? Maybe si Amiel Asido can step into a bigger role next season. Maybe they find someone who's coming
Mahmoud.
in. I think maybe si Mahmoud can actually get some rotation minutes. He's from Coach Pido's body language and facial expressions whenever Mahmoud was on the court. It seems like marami pang kailangan kainin si Mahmoud, and that's medyo Zayn Mahmoud is already a big dude. So the fact na marami pa siyang kailangan kainin says a lot, no? So he's been a doghouse. They have a really tall guy, si Versosa, who came from their juniors ranks. Maybe he can step in. Maybe they have a hidden recruit somewhere that's willing to step into the front court or willing to give some extra minutes. A lot of their guys who we were high on in the preseason, Chase Lane, SJ Moore eventually left, Ashton Andrews eventually left. A lot of the guys who we were high on did not
Estacio.
end up Sinilan Estacio did not end up making an impact. Eventually si Paranada finally got it going yung towards the end. I think if he can keep that momentum, keep that same role, maybe you'll see a better UST next season. So again, a big winner for this season is definitely UST. They still have a lot to improve on. I've outlined it here, but making it back to the Final Four, not being at the bottom, I think you consider that a big win. Maui, Sammy.
Yeah, I just want to add, we sort of expected UST to make it to the Final Four, diba? Nung nag-power rankings tayo before the start of the UAAP season, a lot of people picked them to be in the Final Four or maybe like the 5th team, something like that. So, it's not that big of a surprise. Pero with what they went through, there were times na they had a shaky season. They had there was a point, I think, that they could, FAU had a chance to surpass them, diba? Malalampasan na nila. But every time there was a big or crucial game, they performed and they were able to make it to number 3, diba? Imagine mo, you're the 3rd best team. The only 2 teams that are better than you in terms of rankings are LaSalle and UP, and those two teams, by far, ibang level yun, di ba? Ibang class yun. So, that's really a huge achievement. And kudos to Coach Pido Harencio kasi I was a big doubter. I was a big doubter. All throughout the season, sinasabi ko, they've been very disappointing to me. I have high expectations
A lot of the
about
UST
UST.
faithful you were big doubters too.
Talaga?
You're not
Feel
alone.
mo? Okay, so yun. So a lot of us, including myself, I doubted UST, I doubted Coach Pido. So kudos to Coach Pido and to the UST team. I do also want to shout out so I love this pick, Gab. I want to shout out Nick Caballero also. That was a big question mark for Nick coming into the season is how can he gel or play with the other superstars that are coming in for UST. But he has proved to us that he is still the main guy of this team. Despite getting a former Mythical 5 teammate in Fortsky Padrigao, despite getting an FSA like Tukara who can dominate, it's still Nick Cabanyero's team, and I was very impressed with how he performed. Siguro just to add for UST, I think this is standings wise, I mean in terms of ranking, getting the number 3 spot, I think this is their best ranking since season 78. Kasi nung kay Alden Ayo, they had a better standing 8-6 pero they were number 4 lang. Number 4 lang sila noon. So at least this season number 3 sila, that's their best standing since season 78. So that's huge. That's huge for UST. I think Maui, you were 1 year too early. We were 1 year too early dun sa UST hype, but I think the season is over. We can finally say UST is back, baby. And bonus, magaling din ang women's team nila, 'di ba? So both men's and women's teams nila magaling.
Pati juniors, 'di ba? Pati senior high school.
Pati
Juniors.
Game
Junior
3
high
on
school.
Wednesday. Game 3 on Wednesday.
I think that's the last game. I don't know if when yung senior high school, but yeah, I have to agree. UST is probably one of the ballers of season 87. We were 1 year too early. I think that is also the case for FEU. We're probably 1 year too early with all the hype during the preseason. Si Coach Pido deserves a lot of credit, di ba? Amidst all of the criticism and all of the doubt cast by the community and the fans. And ourselves, di ba? We doubted Coach Pido. It's one of the reasons why he had an outburst, di ba? Sa press conference. But I love how they were able to bounce back despite struggling during the middle of the eliminations, diba? Kasi there was a point in time that they could they were threatened to not make the Final Four, but they were still able to bounce back and they were able to finally make it. And as Gab mentioned, maganda showing nila sa Final Four, diba? Unlike Adamson, which was blown out of the water by LaSalle. I think that bodes well for their chances come season 88. That's one of the reasons why I think Nick Caballero wants to stay. Kasi they could be dark horse championship contenders for season 88. But it will all depend on again, how can they replace Christian Manaytay, diba? How can they get more big men? Kasi that was the biggest hole that they had during season 87, struggling when Motong Kara specifically had 2 quick fouls. Diba? And struggling when Motong Kara was suspended, diba? They have to find other big men. Big men that Pido can trust, diba? Kasi we don't know. Maybe Mahmoud is good but doesn't fit the system of Pido. But it's probably gonna be Jello Crisostomo, one of the guys who will need to step up. But yeah, kudos to UST. Diba? Happy that they're back. They're one of my favorite non-Ateneo teams in the UAAP. They're one of the wildest crowds. Diba, in the UAAP, we're happy yeah. Go ahead, Gab.
Yung sasabi ko lang yung sa wildest crowds, one of my core memories for this season was watching in UST QPAV, and it was rocking with Go Uste. Sam, you were with me in that game.
That Ateneo game.
The student population came to support the UST Growling Tigers, and that place was shaking with Go Uste when they were making their run against Ateneo in the fourth quarter. Anyway, Maui, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe that's one of my bucket list for next season. Watch a game in UST QPAV kasi I wasn't able to do that this season. But moving on to my baller of the season, I would have to pick si Gab mentioned Lasal and UP. I'd have to pick QMB as my baller of the season, 'di ba? Sabi nga namin from the last episode, return on investment on QMB, 'di ba? We have had a lot of Division 1, Division 2 players go to the UAAP and yung hype, 'di ba? They weren't met in previous times. I don't think this is probably one of those times that the hype was real.
Akala ko may babanggitin ka na naman ng pangalan eh.
Wala na. But yeah, si QMB was worth the hype and is the real deal, 'di ba? To the point that I think he should be considered part of the pool for our national team, yung Gilas Pilipinas. They should do everything in their power to get QMB to the team. Para may backup si Kai Soto, 'di ba? QMB's only 24 years old. But he showed nung finals what he's made of, 'di ba? Maybe during parts of the regular season, we didn't see the hype was not real. Maybe people tend to underestimate yung impact ni QMB because he wasn't that impactful on the offensive end. In the finals, on the other hand, he was great in both ends of the floor, di ba? He punished Lasal anytime he could, making Gonzalez and Agunane at times unplayable, di ba? Imagine, Lasal has the best front court, but two of their front court players became unplayable. It's because of QMB. And I love how he was able to establish yung rapport with the UP team despite coming in late. Diba? Ang ganda ng chemistry ni QMB and ni JD Kagulangan nung end of the season. This guy is a professional. He'll be a good professional player for sure. Diba? He played three different colleges and was able to thrive in all three places. So I'm sure wherever he decides to go, he will definitely thrive. But I also have to say, my last baller, medyo controversial. Kasi I would think people would say they are Boleros of the season. The UE Red Warriors, they are still ballers.
Whoa!
They are still ballers.
Talaga?
Yes, they are still ballers of the season, in my opinion. But
Wait,
later,
ano mo na to? Honorable mention mo na si UE.
Honorable mention.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sige.
mention.
Since na-mention mo na, go ahead.
UE is still a baller of the season because they were able to overachieve a ton based on what we expected during the preseason, di ba? If remember, the only team Ateneo was able to beat in the preseason was UE. Diba? And they didn't have good showings in both Pinoy Liga and Phil Oil despite having Momoe, diba? We all expected Momoe to dominate, to probably get a ton of statistical points. But we never expected UE to have a chance to fight to get to the Final Four. I think sa power rankings ko, that's reflected, diba? Early part of the preseason, UE was probably number 7 or number 6 in my power rankings. But despite all of that, despite ending on a very sour note, despite ending on a very sour note and not making it to the Final Four, tied with Adamson, they still outperform by miles away. Diba? It sucks that they lost their coach this season despite overperforming in multiple seasons. Maybe it's because of internal issues and they keep on losing players. Maybe it's another sponsor looking to build their own culture. But you can say you can say that Jack Santiago was able to milk whatever talent he had on the floor in all of his years coaching UE. That's why I believe that UE should still be considered as a baller of the season.
Sam, same tayo ng reaction, so I'm interested. Agree ka ba? Kasi, honestly, I had UE as my bolero. But
I have UE as my bolero also.
Oh, see? Same tayo. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it, diba? I get it. You can say na, if you look at it from the perspective now, where were we expecting UE to be by the end of the season? then actually, yeah, maybe they sort of overachieved. Kasi we expected them to be number 6 talaga. Number 7. Actually, wait, sorry. Number 7. We expected them to be the second worst team. So, kung tingnan mo yun, they overachieved. So, I get where you're coming from, Maui. But, if you look at how it happened, how they ended up at the bottom or one of the bottom teams, and where they were, yung fall from grace na yon, na they were almost at the top two. I would say, kung ako yung fan, I would have rather had parang let's say like a season more similar to NU, na parang ended it on a high note. Medyo I won the last few games kahit wala ng pag-asa. Kesa yung ang sakit talaga. The way they lost yung 5-game losing yung losing streak nila. I can't help but to give them the bolero of the season kasi binola talaga nila tayong lahat. I was expecting them talaga to make it. Even until the very end, sabi ko, siguro naman UE. So, I have to give it to them. Also because the team that beat them is going to be my baller of the season. So, I'll talk more about that later. But, Gab, what do you think?
Yeah, same page tayo, Sammy. I had UE as my bolero of the season. So, I guess I have to pick some other boleros of the season later in that segment. But yeah, I agree. I was seated beside some UE alumni in one of their games, and they were hyped. They were back in it. This was in the first round. The UE crowd was back. The alumni were coming back. The old alumni were coming back. So they felt it. They felt na, hey, we have a chance. We're gonna make the Final Four. We could possibly challenge for 1 and 2. And gaya nga nasabi ni Sammy, the fall came and it was outrageous, glorious fall from grace. I would have to say, the coldest of the coldest streaks happened to the UE Red Warriors. All of their players, maybe except si Rainier Maga, who was the more consistent one throughout the second round, but all of their players, after the win versus NU in the second round, their first game was second round. After that, they could not, their second game of the second round, nasal pala yung first game nila. After that NU win, none of them could hit shots. None. Diba? We outlined si Ethan Galang struggling. Well, Lingo only hitting 1-3 in their last 5 losses. Diba? John Abate was eventually marginalized on the bench. Who knows why? Could not perform to the same level as he was in the first round. Just monumental collapse in the middle of the season. I get your point, Maui. I mean, I think I still mentioned this when we graded UE season, diba? I'm not giving them, bagsak passing because nga they surpassed our expectations for the totality of the season, but for how the season progressed and what really happened, I cannot give them a baller of the season now. Si Maui, pa-spicy agad. Pinili.
Swerve agad eh. No?
Swerve agad si Maui.
Pero when they talk about investing, this is what you call a falling knife. What happened to UE, diba? Nowhere to go but down. Diba? Keep on going down. But yeah, let's get to the boleros later. Maybe I would surprise again.
Oh, interesting.
Sammy, go ahead.
Sige. I actually loved your 2 picks. UST and QMB. Those were my baller picks also. So I think very much agree with those 2 picks. So I'm actually going with my honorable mention. So I have 2. So I'll go with my 2 picks na, and then Gab, let's end with your honorable mention baller of the season. So I mentioned Adamson as my baller of the season, and I think other than UST, with UST kasi, as I mentioned, we were sort of expecting them to be in this range 5-3 range. We were expecting UST to make it there. Adamson, just like UE, I did not expect, a lot of people did not expect, except for Adamson fans and the Sultan of Sando right here, who were very high on Adamson. Maui, I think later on, you changed your mind. You were higher on Adamson also. But I'm pretty sure like a lot of people, naalala ko, were saying Adamson wasn't gonna make it. So, bolero kayo or binobola nyo na ako pag sinabi nyo sa akin na you expected them to make it. They lost a bunch of their stars. They lost Jerome Lastimosa. A lot of their vets nawala din from last season. They had very hyped recruits. Actually, they got a bunch of Phil Foreign guys. They got Div 1 guys. Those
Ron
did not pan
Jones!
out. Those did, I mean, let's call a spade, diba? They did not get minutes. The other, I think, only one Ronzone made it to the team this year. And he didn't get that minutes. He didn't get to play that much. So, those are the hyped recruits. Yun yung nakikita natin na spicy sa balita, diba? So, I didn't really expect much from Adamson this season. I was expecting si Cedric Manzano lang will dominate and cook, but you know what? They played as a team, and the more I watched Adamson, I've said this in previous episodes, the more I watched them, the more I realized, wow, kahit sinong player hilain ni Coach Nash Racela, he's a solid player. He's a solid contributor. Plays within the system, you can expect anyone to contribute dun sa mga hugot ni Coach Nash Racela. It's not like other teams, like Ateneo struggled with their bigs, yung big man rotation nila, or hindi ganun ka-deep yung bench, diba? But with Adamson, everybody just stepped up. They had bad moments, but at the end of the day, they made it to the Final Four. And if you're going up against a team like LaSalle, a team like UP, alam mo, sometimes just making it to the Final Four is an achievement enough. Just go ask Adamson, go ask UST. Sobrang saya ng UST when they made it to the Final Four, para silang nag-champion. Kasi sometimes it's just about making it there. And Adamson has made it, or has had a chance to make it to the Final Four the past few seasons. So kudos to Coach Nash Racela, and how much he has managed or really made the most out of what he has. They don't have a big budget just like the other schools. They're not the top choice. I've mentioned this before. High school players nila mismo hindi sila pinili, but they just find ways to win. So I have to pick Adamson as a baller of the season for surprising me and a lot of people except maybe Gab. Gab,
I love the pick.
anong masasabi mo?
I love the pick. I'm glad you're finally on my side about the Adamson Falcons. But I can't give them a baller of the season, despite me being always on Adamson's side, you know. Yung mga Adamson fans mismo nagsasabi na sa'yo, sabi ko, kasi Sammy, pinaniniwala sa Adamson.
Oh,
that's very funny. To whoever said that,
Sinugod daw, guys. Sinugod daw. Sabi, doubter daw. Uy, ikaw si Sam yung Boleros, diba? Hindi ka naniniwala sa amin.
Yeah, but I can't give them the baller of the season because as I said in the preseason, what's the ceiling for Adamson? You've already made the Final Four. You've already fought for the Final Four. What's the ceiling? And they are back where they started. They made the Final Four and got blown out again. I don't know. Yes, reaching the Final Four is an achievement, especially this season with a very balanced 3 to 8 teams. But again, you've been here before and you're here again and you got blown out. I'm not sure that's what you call an reaching your potential or going beyond expectation. I think if you're Coach Nash, you expected that. You expected to compete for the Final Four. You already did the past couple of seasons. You already did without Jerome Lastimosa for last season, even because he was injured. You knew you could make it. So this was it. You knew you were there, but what else? What's the next step? You always have to look at the next step because I think for this current version of the Adamson soaring Falcons, I mean, this is the same team sans Jerome and Joem sa bandal, but essentially the same team plays the same way. What's next? Is it just Final Four then out, or playoff for the Final Four and out? You have to figure out a way to go beyond that, in my opinion. So I can't give them the baller of the season. I think I mentioned this in previous episodes, especially in the preseason. Yes, I was high on Adamson on making the Final Four, but I never said they could be contenders. Diba? A lot na nagsasabi, Gab, you're too high on Adamson. Too high. I had them exactly where they were. I never said they could compete with the likes of the UP or LaSalle. They don't have the talent for that. So I think I was right on the money. They made the Final Four. They were blown out eventually in the Final Four. I can't give them a baller of the season for that. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think that's one of the main reasons why we didn't grade them as an A, 'di ba, Gab, nung when we were grading Adamson's season.
Mm-hmm.
They were in this position the previous season, although they still outperformed in the minds of many and probably the majority of the people. I guess that's where you look at the perspective of UST, diba? UST was not blown out. So kahit papaano you can see that they have the potential to take the next step next season. With Adamson, I don't know, will they continue to just keep on grinding to get to the Final Four, or will they be a contender, a legit contender, di ba, in the UAAP? I think that's something that's been missing with them. That could be a byproduct of them not landing blue chip recruits. But we know that they can compete, di ba, with this lineup. Maybe that's the next step. Maybe they should target to get the twice to beat advantage, di ba? I think we should put Adamson in the same pedestal as where we put NU before. Diba? We wanted NU to take the next step, and that next step is to challenge or get that twice to beat advantage. So I agree they are still ballers kasi diba kahit papaano this season has been one of the craziest, I would say, challenge for the Final Four slot. I mean, there's a reason why UST was, I think, the first team with only a 500 record to be a third seed in the Final Four era. Diba? So challenging then, they still made it, but it would have been different if they gave LaSalle a challenge, diba? Kasi we expected them to try to get to, with all the momentum that they had after the second round. We expected them to maybe surprise us, but they didn't. Diba? They still was blown out by LaSalle in the Final Four. Yeah.
Okay, my last pick, baller of the season, I have to go with the UAAP as a whole. The UAAP. Just a few things. One, they officially you recognize Boleros as UAAP media.
Bias
So,
na.
Baller na kayo again, UAAP. UAAP media team, thank you
Thank
for
you.
accrediting
Next year
us.
ulit!
Next year,
Next year ulit, please!
Good boy naman kami. Good boys naman kami.
Good boy. Hindi ako nagsando sa game. So
Kahit maraming
mga-
nagre-request, Gab, di ba? Kasi marami
diba?
tayong namimit na mga tao, ba't hindi ka nakasando? Ganun yung comment, di ba?
Sunod
Dalawang
ako,
dekada ako nanonood ng UAAP, di ako nag-blue. Ateneo Blue the whole season. Di rin ako nag-song for Mary. Malakinig ako. We followed the rules.
Ako rin. I mean, did not raise my hand a single time in a single yung Ateneo game. I followed the rules. Nakinig ako. So that one reason, automatic baller na kayo. UAPs. Second, they improved a lot. Live stats. We've been clamoring for it. Live stats. We have
Finally,
live stats.
ginamit din nila FIBA. Finally.
Oh, yun.
Pwede na mag-retire si Pong Docane sa pag-upload nung box scores sa Twitter.
So yeah, live scores, big thing. Especially for us content creators who are podcasters, we will have to talk about it. ang hirap the past few seasons just looking at the PDF as zoom in mo pa kung ano yung numbers.
Si Sir Pong lang.
Ka pa.
Si
Oh,
Sir Pong lang ang pag-asa natin.
It was so difficult the past couple of seasons, but we got it. Live stats. Amazing. So, yun. Another reason why they're ballers. I'm trying to think of other reason why they're ballers. Televised. Juniors and women's games. Scheduling. The 4 game days. Taken away.
They listen to
Ballers.
the people. They
They
listen,
listen
to the people.
The late starts, they try to address it. They listen.
Yeah. Nakalimutan ko na yan, oh. Oo nga. Nung first round. Ang lala.
Diba? Remember when you were going home from games at 9:30 in the evening?
Puyatan.
Diba? People were complaining like, what the hell are these games so late? Sometimes you're ending at 10 and the game was at MOA. Some people could not catch trains going home. It was so difficult. But they listened. They started games earlier. Kung may separate tickets, the first game started as early as 1 or 12 to 12 in the middle of the day, just to get the games to start early. Diba? In the finals, games started on time. Diba? That wasn't happening in the first round. But the UAP listened. I think
I forgot about that. Wow.
ayan, diba? Nakalimutan na natin. 4 game days seems like a long time ago when you would, nung tayo, yung every Wednesday, yung nakaglue lang tayo sa TV natin or sa phone lang natin, pagod na ako. Pagod na ako kakanood ng basketball. Diba? Remember those days? But they're now gone. Now, the season took longer than expected, than usual, but I don't mind. The pacing was better. The pacing was better.
Nagka-suspensions din kasi, di ba?
And nagka-suspensions din, and that's out of their control, diba? Kung magkabagyo sa Pilipinas. I mean,
and then the Gilas thing happened in they had to take a break, yeah.
Mukhang gano'n na every season because of Gilas, di ba? If we have windows.
Yeah, so for me, UAP is an honorable mention for my baller of the season. They did a lot of things right. Maybe some things that can be improved on. We'll talk about that maybe in a later episode that we like to do. But I think the UAP deserves a shout out. Malaki sa akin yung live stats eh. That's such a big. I check it out, and you're with me, Sammy, yung during games, but during halftime, check out ko yung stats. How is the game trending? What are the key stats? Oh, they're being out-rebounded by this much. I like doing that. I'm a fantasy basketball guy. I like looking at numbers. So, the fact that we had live stats updated during the game, that you could actually look at it, it's a game changer for me. So, thank you, UAP, for doing that. So, yun, UAP. Anything to add of why the UAP should be a baller of the season?
Yeah. Tanggalin lang nila yung Gab, yung buti nakikinig sila sa fans and content creators, di ba? I have to commend them also for removing yung ads after the timeouts when the teams were already on the floor, di ba? That was such a sore in the eyes nung Final Four. But I think the UAP listens. I think that's the important thing, di ba? That's why they're improving. That's why the product continues to get better. If they keep on getting yung and listening to the fans, the content creators, to the majority, how to improve then, nowhere to go but up, as they say, di ba? They will continue to improve the product, definitely.
Sammy?
No, nothing to add. Nakalimutan ko na yung sa akin scheduling. That was the biggest one. Kasi puyat na ako after nung ibang games, especially when we watched live. Kudos to them. And I think yung the way they scheduled the women's and the juniors games para you can also like watch women's and juniors then. I think that was also good, and working with Pilipinas Live to televise them. We've talked about that before. For me, quick runner up lang din for me na baller of the season. I want to say the rookie of the year, VJ Pre, is one of my ballers of the season. If I had to pick a player, obviously rookie of the year, siya averaged like 13, 14 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists. At that level, no, 19 years old. I think you guys were the ones who mentioned it in a previous podcast or sa chat natin. Yung skill level niya and what he's doing, it's even better than what KQ was doing when he was a rookie. When he was a rookie. And he's being compared to him, diba? So, imagine what he can become a few years down the road. Gab, you mentioned kanina, diba? You always have to look at the future and kung ano yung next step, ano yung potential. Sky's the limit for this guy. Yung skill set niya, what he has shown to us this season, he was clearly one of the, if not the best guy for FEU and has made FEU competitive. They didn't make it to the Final Four. That was a disappointment. We were so hyped about them. Medyo nabola tayo doon. But it's very exciting to see what he can become in the succeeding seasons. And I forgot about the 30-point game, diba? I think first rookie since RJ Abarientos. And RJ Abarientos went to the KBL. He was that good. So, after his rookie season. So, to be at that level, I think the other guy before RJ Abarientos, Jeron Teng. Those are the guys that have scored 30-plus points when they were rookies. So, he's in great company. To be compared to KQ is a compliment to him. I hope he continues to develop and work on his game. He's definitely Gila's candidate for me, and we'll see what he will show to us next season. Kasi si KQ took a huge leap after his rookie year or after his first 2 years. So hopefully VJ Pre continues to develop and takes a huge leap. And Gab, I know you're a big fan of VJ Pre. Anything you want to say
Since
about
high school.
him?
Since season 85, when I saw this guy play in juniors division, I was a big fan. The hype was surpassed. The hype was already high. For me, the hype was already high.
And it's hard to do that, diba? It's hard to meet yung hype, diba? I mean, halimutan ko na tuloy sa NU, si guard sa NU, we were hyped about him. Umamoy. We were hyped about him. He was the main guy sa nung high school team nila. But it's hard to meet the hype and translate your game in the seniors level. But he did. He did.
So happy for him. I'm so happy to see him excel. I've been high on first time I saw this guy play. I'm like, look at the height, look at the ball handling. Diba? You can imagine the world for this guy, si VJ Pre. I've been so impressed. Let's move on to our Boleros.
Yes. Maui, why don't you start with your Boleros of the season kasi bowler mo UE eh. So I'm curious where you're going with this.
Anong paggugulat yung gagawin mo, Mariano Yap?
Actually, ang Bolero of the season ko is also UE. Diba? They were my...
Okay.
Ginanon tayo ni Maui, Sammy.
Hindi.
Na mind games tayo eh.
Depende kasi how you look. Tama, I think one of you guys mentioned perspective, diba? If you look at the perspective of the expectations. The problem with UE is we were so high, everyone was so hyped. Diba? To the point that everyone thought that they could potentially unseat one of the two to get the twice to beat advantage. Diba? I don't think we've ever... I've said this numerous times in our previous episodes. I don't think we've seen this big of a fall in a season. Diba? In any UAAP team for the past 20 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, our subscribers and watchers. I haven't seen this type of fall in the same season. Diba? Kasi sometimes it happens diba? Hype na hype tayo sa one team and then the following season they disappoint. Diba? Or sometimes baliktad naman. But this is crazy. Kasi this all happened in a span of like 2 to 3 months, diba? Everyone was saying that UE could be a championship contender, diba? Then they only win 1 out of their last 8 games, diba? If I'm not mistaken. That's just crazy, diba? So, despite all of this is one of the reasons why I think Jack Santiago still got the boot diba, still was removed as UE head coach despite outperforming preseason expectations. Diba? Kasi grabe, you don't see this type of fall in the same season, diba? There are teams that outperform in the preseason and disappoint sa season. But in the same season, just the next round, grabe yung free fall ng UE. And I have to say that I also have to include Welo Lingo-Lingo as part of my UE Boleros pick. Diba? Kasi Welo Lingo-Lingo at one point in the season was the best 3-point shooter in terms of volume, in terms of percentage, 3-point efficiency. If you watch our first few episodes, we said this. He's the best shooter in the UAAP. Diba? So,
Sorry, medyo nawala kami. Technical difficulties. Maui, go ahead. You were talking about UE.
yeah. So, I don't think it's a coincidence that UE started its free fall, diba? When Weluling was started not to hit threes. Diba? We expected multiple games of 4 to 6 3-pointers. For number 2, I think tied for number 2. Or not, if I'm not mistaken. But 5-2 during the end of the first round. But yeah, so they are both ballers and boleros in my opinion. Kasi depende sa perspective eh. As for my honorable mention, I have to say this. I was thinking it could be FEU, but since they're a young team, I'll give them the pass. Next season, I'll expect more. The biggest bolero, the second biggest bolero of season 87 for me are the CEU big men. Henry Agonane and Balogun.
Akala ko CEU eh. Parang, ha? CEU? Wow, okay. I get this pick. This pick. Okay, go ahead.
With all the hype of Henry Agonane, diba? I think all teams tried to get Henry Agonane. Maybe the most hype FSA since Ben Embala, I would say. Si Henry Agonane, with all of the talk, with all of the rumors that were happening during the preseason. He was so bad that at times he was unplayable, diba? Despite having all of that hype, despite having that maybe Ben Embala comparisons as to dominance, diba? For Balogun, I don't think I have to say anything. If you watch all of the games of Ateneo, Kyle Ong at times was playing ahead of him, diba? I think that says it all, diba? Balogun was such a train wreck for Ateneo. I'm sorry, Balogun. You will not be the FSA of Ateneo for season 88. If you are the FSA of Ateneo for season 88, then Ateneo will not make the Final Four next season. I guarantee. Gab.
Una-una, I have to applaud you, Maui, for the UE pick of Ballers and Boleros.
Next level gaming. Next level
gaming, you know. Did not expect that. But good job. Kahit ako hindi ko naisip yun, I have to applaud you for that. But I do agree with the Agonani and Balogun picks. Yeah. In the first episode of the season,
nag-overreact ka.
Nag-overreact ako. It's just one game, but Henry Agonani was a bust. A lot of Lasalians answered me because the game after against Adamson had a double-double.
Yeah.
Had 3 blocks, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yun sasabihin ko. And he showed you. Diba? He showed you. He performed.
Oh, then like, okay. So it was really an overreaction. A lot of LaSalle fans in the comments, LaSallians were telling me, oh God, pinakitaan ka. You just have to give him time, you know. But as the season wore on, oh my goodness, I think for the first season of Henry Balogun, I think he was a bust. Again, from the expectations of his recruitment, from the hype that was put on this guy, the hype lang. I mean, the hype mismo, diba? Yung tama, Maui, for the investment that LaSalle made in this guy, I think he was really a bust for his first season in the UAAP. So I saw a few comments in the last in our latest episode about Game 3. People want Bright Nwangko back.
That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is.
Bright Nwangko was not an excellent FSA. I mean, he was barely playable in season 86. But people want Bright Nwangko back. So I think that tells you all you need to know. Lasalians want Bright Nwangko back. So Henry was that overreaction in her first episode of the season really aged well I have to say so myself. Henry Agunaning as a bust came true because he really was. He was outplayed by a bunch of centers. Tungkara, Mo Konate, QMB. My goodness. Saya, taas expectations and fell really short of it. Henry Agunaning. Balogun, I mean, come on. He was benched. Coach Tam already benched him in the last few games. They're not even in the UE game. Remember, without Precious Momoway in that game in QPAV, Coach Tam didn't even choose to play Ayodeji Balogun. Just he had bright spots, a few of them, but goodness. So hard, so tough to watch Ayodeji Balogun. I don't remember Ike being that bad, but I do remember that Ike was a bit of a disappointment.
Frustrating.
Yeah, he was frustrating. He couldn't catch the ball. Balogun also couldn't catch the ball, and just he was a foul machine to start the season. Remember, and Balogun. I don't know what's worse, having no FSA or having Balogun.
Pareho lang actually. I agree with the pick. UE was my Bolero of the season. So kudos to Maui for doing some next level gaming shit on us. I agree with the CEU bigs. Very frustrating for Ateneo and LaSalle fans watching these two bigs most of the season. So we'll see what will happen next season. Gab, sino naman ang Bolero of the season mo?
I don't want to do this, Sam, but I have.
I think we have the same Bolero of the season. I think so too.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. My Bolero of the season, and I've criticized him the entire season, has to be Sean Queteves. Because of one primary reason, he Ben Simmons does. He pulled off a Ben Simmons. I didn't think it was possible. I really did not think it was possible that anyone could pull off a Ben Simmons. And for those who don't know the reference, Ben Simmons, is an NBA player. I mean, I think if you watch his podcast, you know who Ben Simmons is. But he can't shoot or doesn't want to shoot. Diba? And every NBA offseason, he posts a workout video when he's topless or something, and he's hitting threes, he's hitting jump shots, and his fans go crazy. Diba? The Philadelphia 76ers fans, they go crazy. Oh, Ben Simmons is going to shoot this season. He's going to hit threes. Let's go. We're going to win the title. Him and Embiid, they're going to win it. Sean Queteves did the exact same thing to us Ateneo fans this season. He posts, I don't know, I think it was his trainer who posted Sean Queteves with a new jump shot, quicker jump shot, and it was all going in. There was some edits there, I'm sure, but the shots were going in. It was quicker. In the start of the preseason, he was taking them, diba? Nagulat tayo, he's taking it. Oh, he's making threes. And then come season 87, he didn't want to shoot. That's the most painful part. He did not want to shoot.
Tony Snell mode.
Exactly. I do remember after the first round, I looked at the first round stats. He shot 17 attempts. 17. He averaged 30 minutes a game. The most on the Ateneo Blue Eagles. But he shot 17 times. And to top it all off, he was perfect from the free throw line, but he only
Yun
attempted
eh.
6.
Yun eh. No, maganda naman yung free throw shooting niya.
I mean,
Less than 1 attempt per 10 minutes yun, bro.
Oh.
that is, I'm sorry, SQ, I don't know if you listen to us, but I know some Ateneo fans and Ateneo alumni do listen to us who maybe know you. But I can't believe that we fell for the Ben Simmons. We fell for it big time. And it's not just he maybe they're contesting his shots, that's why he's not shooting. If you watch Ateneo games, he's left open majority of the time. They don't even close out to him when teams play zone or when they play a man-to-man. They always choose to close out his next pass, the extra pass that Sean will get. They're willing to let Sean Queteves shoot. It's so apparent that every time Bahay drives or supporters inside or Chris Kun, they kick out to Sean. He has a wide open shot. He won't take it. He'll just look for the handoff, and it leads to bad shots. It leads to Jared Bahay trying to force up those difficult shots. So apparent, and the reason why it's extra painful because his predecessors, the shooting guards prior to him, were all very good defenders, but were all shooters. BJ Andrade, Adrian Wong, Anton Asistio,
3-and-D.
diba? Even si Gian Mamuyak, who played the Sean Queteves role, the stopper role, could shoot and was willing to take shots. SQ was just one of the many problems that Ateneo had this season, but it's hard not to critique and pick Sean Queteves as my bolero of the season because I love his defense. You know, season 85, he was one of the heroes. But as he got more extended minutes, the frustration just builds if you're an Ateneo fan. Because you see it on the court and what he doesn't do, what he's not willing to do, and it's painful. It's painful to watch. Yun lang. Sean Queteves, I'm sorry. I love you, but the fact that you Ben Simmons, us Ateneo fans, and the whole UAAP community, you deserve a bolero of the season. Sam, Maui.
Maui, anything to add before I go on to my bolero?
Yeah, baka hindi na tayo, I remember seeing a video of Navs and Nico getting in dun sa hyperbolic chamber ba na investment ni Sean Queteves. Baka hindi tayo invite Gab na mag-ice din ng katawan. No, but I think that's one of the main problems of Ateneo this season, di ba? Just too many holes. And Sean Queteves being the captain was one of them, sadly. But good luck to him. I think he's practicing with Talk and Tech, so maybe he can surprise us. As some people are able to carve out roles, diba? He has a very set role as a perimeter stopper, defensive anchor. Maybe he can still make the pros, or maybe he decides to become a doctor or a businessman. I don't know. Good luck to Sean.
And it didn't end well for Sean Queteves, pero he'll always be a UAAP champion. He was crucial. You mentioned it, Gab. He was crucial role player during that championship. So you can't take that away from Sean Queteves, diba? So it just didn't end well. It happens. So move on. Good luck. We wish you all the best. Pati si Chris Kun. Moving on, since we talked about Sean Queteves, I also hate to do this, pero I have to pick Ateneo as one of my boleros of the season. And obviously, they're the bottom team. Actually, preseason pa lang bolero na sila. Walang napanalunan during the preseason except a game against UE that didn't have Precious Momoway. I think it was during a Pinoy Liga game. They got humiliated by LaSalle. They were so humiliated that their star player Mason Amos decided to go to LaSalle. It was that bad for them. And then the whole Balogun thing, diba? There were so many questions about him. Why wasn't he playing the entire preseason? He should be getting some reps. The way that thing just transpired, that was a big question mark for me. And then, okay, things are starting to get better. The season's starting. Sabi nila they're starting to gel. Then a few days before the start of the season, they announced Nieto, one of their um potential starters, uh being lost for the season. Ang sakit. Ang sakit talaga nun, Lebron Nieto. Them losing Lebron Nieto. And I think that was also a factor why, Gab, Sean Kiteves ended up playing, let's say, 30 minutes a game, diba? Because I think Nieto was supposed to be that other guy in that position that can defend some of their best players but also hit a big three. Nieto is a three-point shooter, di ba? And then, the season went on. Imagine mo, hindi pa nagsistart yung season. Ganito nakasama yung preseason ng Ateneo. And then, obviously, in the season, bottom team ended up as the bottom team. Just couldn't catch wins or close out games. They had some close games, pero not really. They had a bunch of single-digit quarters. That was very frustrating. Wala talaga yung offense. It was a very forgettable season for Ateneo. I think the only silver lining for them is tapos na yung season. We can move on and hope for the next season. And Gab, I think you mentioned it. Marami nang nangyayari sa Ateneo. They've started their recruitment. So, hopefully, we'll get to see a better season for Ateneo next season. And siguro, isa pa yung questions about like Coach Tab. So, sinasabi ni Coach Tab, he's still signed up until next season, but that remains to be seen what they'll decide to do. So, I'm hoping Coach Tab, we'll see Coach Tab next season. I still want to see Coach Tab work with these guys, especially with Jared Bahay, Porter, and all the young guys then. So, hopefully, Coach Tab, please stay for next season. Gab, Maui, may madadagdag ba kayo?
Well, I didn't want to give them a full bolero because, again, what were the expectations for this season?
Honorable mention ko na sila kasi Maui picked UE na eh. Maui picked UE, so I have to pick something else.
I didn't want to give it fully to Ateneo. Again, I went on Naveen's podcast and I said 4 wins and I'll consider this season a success.
Success.
The fact that they can get 4 wins after being winless against majority of the UAAP field in the preseason, I think it's a win in my book. I mean,
at least hindi 1-13, di ba?
Well, it's a team full of sophomores and rookies. We were starting 2 rookies, one of which was a 6'3" center in Christian Porter.
Sakit.
That guy is a hero to me.
Bayani
no matter what.
Saludo,
Christian Porter,
saludo,
bayani
saludo.
ka. You were guarding Mo Konate, Mo Tongkara,
QMB,
QMB,
Mike Phillips.
Mike Phillips, you were trying your best, and he just tried his. I mean, you cannot ask anything more from a 6'3" guy guarding 6'10" high flyers, man. So, yeah, I didn't want to give them a full bolero, but I mean, yeah, they were last place. Definitely not a season to remember for the Ateneo Blue Eagles. For us Ateneo fans, you have to take it. We lost a lot. We lost a lot in the past couple of seasons in terms of starters and rotation players, in terms of vets. We just lost a lot. So, yeah, I mean, just build towards the future. Practice patience for the Ateneo community there. I know a ton are hard already on the players. I'm hard on the players at times, but we have to be patient. I'm patient. Kaya nga sabi ko, yung 4 wins, happy na ako eh. I'm just waiting to look at how this team builds. Ito pala yung feeling ng Philadelphia 76ers fans all those years with the process. Just one season, yung naramdaman ko na eh, Maui.
Yeah, kung UST ka na TS, 'di ba? Multiple seasons of 1-40, 1-13, 'di ba?
Wag naman
Ateneo
sana,
fans
Maui.
should also be patient. But as they say, when you are the last place, there's nowhere to go but up. Diba? So I think that's the silver lining. If there's ever a silver lining for this year, just build up for next season. They got the prize recruit, Jared Bahay. They got the prize recruits from Cebu. We'll talk about it in our next episodes. But nowhere to go but up. It's still Coach Tab, diba? We trust Coach Tab. We know what happens when Coach Tab gets the team in line. We know what the potential of a team when Coach Tab is the coach, diba? Anything is possible. I think the expectations are pretty high always on Coach Tab. Kaya people are disappointed with Ateneo the past 2 seasons. But at the end of the day, Gab is right, diba? You can only go so far with the talent you have. Diba? And Ateneo had too many holes to fill this season. I'm happy that they were able to get to 4 wins, to be honest. Much like Gab, diba? Getting to 5 or 6 wins would have been a big A+, diba? If they were able to challenge for that Final Four slot.
Actually, yeah.
But with this type of competition, the competition that we had this past season, Ateneo could have easily gone 0-14, in my opinion, diba? UE was the only team they beat and UE outperformed, diba? So at the end of the day, 4 wins is still not as bad as 1-13. Let's see. Hopefully they improve next season.
Okay, I think my last Bolero of the season, as we go past an hour already on this episode, my last Bolero of the season also has to go to the UAAP. Now, we praise the UAAP.
Nag-next level gaming ka din pala.
I sort of thought about this already prior to the episode, but has to be the UAAP also because of the inconsistencies. One, the traveling calls. We weren't able to talk about it much in the finals episodes where we were recapping the games. But starting the Final Four, the traveling calls disappeared. This totally disappeared. They don't totally disappeared. There was just some traveling calls, but the calls that they were consistently doing throughout the elimination round, they were not calling anymore in the Final Four in the finals. And I'm like, what the hell? You called nearly 300 traveling calls in the elimination round. I do remember si Boom Gonzalez saying this on the broadcast. Mid pa lang na second round, nasa 216 na tayo. So, I bet that surpassed 300 by the end of the second round. So, 300 traveling calls. It became a thing. People were starting to question it. People were starting to criticize it. But the UAAP remained firm. This is traveling and we're gonna call it over and over despite all the criticisms. But then, the calls disappeared. And no explanation, no press release from the commissioner's office why the traveling calls were gone, but the traveling calls were gone. Even in the finals, the apparent traveling calls were gone, but the traveling calls where they would step first before dribbling, they always used to call that when they would lift their pivot foot before dribbling, despite stepping with the non-pivot foot first. They called that consistently throughout the elimination round. Now, I'm not a fan of having that many turnovers a game, but the fact that they were calling it consistently, I would have liked to see more consistency. So that was for me. So it was a small storyline we weren't able to cover during the finals recap episodes, but I do have to say that. The other thing is, I think the UAP takes a lot of crap for it, but I think rightfully so. The Raylan Torres one, the Raylan Torres lifting of the suspension. I know LaSalle fans complained, but you got the same treatment from Mark Nonoy last season. Just look back, his suspension was also canceled or lifted, diba, for season 86. But it doesn't look good when Mo Tongkara was suspended for 2 taunting technical fouls. That to me was, I think the unsportsmanlike fouls on Raylan Torres were worse, and I think if you're gonna exempt Raylan Torres from a suspension, I think he should have done the same thing to Motongkara. The Precious one, I can kind of understand. Again, we talked about it yung when it happened. It looked bad, diba? Two players bled out. We didn't agree with you with the calls when it was called during the game, but the Tongkara one, I don't agree
For
that
taunting.
yung for taunting, two technicals for taunting. I mean, and then you suspend him for one game. Where's the consistency in that? I think the clear path foul is much worse than a taunting technical. Diba? That's just me. So I was hoping for more consistency, and that's it. And we talked about the length of the games. The UAP has to find a way to shorten the games. I'm sorry, but
No more 3 hours.
Game 2 reached 3 hours. Game 3 almost reached 3 hours. So we have to do something about the length of the games. The women's basketball games are sakto yung timing. 1.5 to 1 hour and 45. I think that's the right amount of time to play, to have a basketball game, to watch a basketball game. More than that, grabe. I do think they also have to change the continuous reviews just by players grabbing something or they're hurt or whatever. It encourages a lot of acting. Remember the UP
Yeah,
coach
that's true.
who raised the acting whiteboard? Everyone does it. Everyone acts out. And
That's a good point.
because they know it's gonna be reviewed. I have not seen. I in the NBA, I think they do it at times. They do review those kind of plays, but that consistency of calling that many reviews for just anyone who would grab his face, grab his chest, grab anything of his body that he was hurt, and they automatically review it. It just encourages a ton of acting on the court. That's just me. I don't
Siguro
like seeing
dapat siguro dapat upon review, kung makita nila na hindi naman talaga hard foul, may warning na sila for a flop, something like that. So
Faking a
you'll
foul.
think twice. Oo, faking a foul. You'll think twice before acting na nasaktan ka kung natamaan ka ng onti sa face or whatever. No? Maybe something to consider. But yeah, good point, Gab. Good point. Maybe, sorry, to nitpick na lang din, just to add, yung audio problem sa Pilipinas Live when we were watching, like I think for the first half of the season or even the second round, they had audio problems. Akala ko ako lang, but Gab and Maui experienced it also. So just a few nitpicks I think that they can fix. Yeah, Maui, why don't you end it for us?
Yeah. I think the UAP, I think the best thing that I can say about the UAP, I said kanina, diba? They listen. So I hope they continue to listen to the fans and the stakeholders. The better product we have, the more people will watch, the more invested people will be, the better Boleros will be. But kidding aside, I'm excited for what's next, season 88. I hope they do some changes. I think si Gab mentioned also yung coaches challenge. 'Di ba, as a potential thing that they can improve on. What I'm happy about is that we're improving kahit papaano, 'di ba? Maybe they can just work on a balance with regards to making money and getting the product right for the customers, 'di ba? No more, I hope no more talaga. Yung pinaka pet peeve ko talaga this season was when they did ads after timeouts and the teams were already on the floor. I think that's the worst thing that they can do. And they remedied it quickly. 'Di ba? Maybe their biggest mistake was not doing it when it was Lasal and UP in Lasal, 'di ba? Kasi more people were probably watching during those games, but I hope that they continue to listen to the stakeholders. I hope that we have more consistency. I think a lot of people in Twitter and X are sharing and saying that maybe the UAP has to share yung rule book. Diba? So people don't overreact and there's an easy way to check. Diba? For these types of appeals. Diba? Kasi I think that's one of the reasons why people are mad, 'di ba? The inconsistencies and not really knowing the real rule, 'di ba? On how to appeal and what is acceptable to appeal. But hopefully the UAAP continues to listen. That's one of my continuous wish list sa UAAP. But overall, as I tweeted out, I think UAAP season 88 was a bang. What a season.
Season 87 was a bang.
87 pare. Yung next
masyado
year
kang
pa
excited.
88.
Inunahan ko na, 88 will be a bang.
Will be a bang. Yun. Maui. Prediction from Maui. Okay, that's it for today's episode. Our very last Gatorade Ballers and Boleros of Season 87. Once again, we didn't talk much about them, but we talked about the UP Fighting Maroons. Congrats again to the Fighting Maroons. We didn't talk much about them, but if you wanna listen to our discussion nung championship nila, check out the previous episode where we recapped Game 3. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Marami pa tayong content. Comment down below. Ano yung Gatorade Ballers and Boleros of the season nyo pala, by the way. Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you, Maui.